right, guys, I'm gonna do this in traditional vlog fashion because we have to get used to a new camera. So, as you see here, Panasonic GH4, Tokina with 11 through 16 millimeter wide angle lens that I always use for my car reviews and everything else when I use my T3i. We are basically replicating that right now with the GH4. Now, to get to this step, to make the footage look like this, is kind of a process. So when I first got the camera, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was completely clueless on how to use it, and I still am having a little bit of trouble. But that is just a learning curve you get with any camera that you get. That's just the way it is. The GH4 is extremely capable. It can shoot 4K in Cinema HD, and it is crystal clear, as you see. It's very, very sharp. Compared to the T3i, the color is a little different. It's a little bit more pale than the Canon. At the same time, I shoot what's called a flat image with this camera. So flat image means you take as balanced as an image as you can, you know, kind of washed out, kind of everything else, and then you stretch the color out in color grading. But the first thing I ran into with the GH4 was lenses. Now, I didn't have any Panasonic lenses that were capable with this camera. So I had to get what's called the Metabone Speed Booster. It's a lens adapter that lets me use my Canon EF lenses I used all of these years with the Canon T3i. I got the Speed Booster after recommendation from friends like Gears and Gasoline and my friend Andrew Mesa that was on that vlog with me. Now, the T3i was very forgiving when it came to shutter speed and ISO. If you went a little too high ISO, you could tell it was an issue. It was too grainy and gross. However, with shutter speed, you can almost use the shutter speed for lighting in a way. You know, with this, you have to do your shutter speed right. If you don't, you get this incredibly gross, choppy image. But my first day with the GH4, I only had a kit lens, the lens that came with the camera, and I went out and about and I played around with it. So the first day, as you see, Smurf is just way too gross looking. It's really pale, or it's too bright, or it's not bright enough. I just couldn't get it right. And so I was like, oh God, this is gonna be quite the learning process. And then the next day I went to a meet at the shop in Atlanta called Showstoppers. And I noticed that with practice, it was starting to get better. Then after that, I played with a really great feature of the GH4, and that is the slow motion. You can shoot at 96 frames per second, and you can get really awesome shots. As you see here, I got my friends vaping, and yes, that is a freaking vent out of a WRX just for vaping. It was a really good time, and I learned a lot just on that day as well. Compared to my T3i, now the T3i is arguably the best beginner, or any of the Canon Rebel series, is probably arguably the best camera to get started with if you want some quality. But the sharpness of the GH4 is so hard to argue with. And I shoot all in 4K. Now, I realized that my workflow was then going to be messed up. So then in Adobe Premiere, I had to do some workarounds and get it to make it work, essentially. So after a lot of time researching, and after exporting 4K, I realized that I don't have time to export 4K. It's just too much. And I did 9 seconds of 4K, and it took like 30 minutes. Then I shot in 4K and then exported in 1080p, and that solved all my issues. I did a few comparison tests, and it's barely noticeable, especially that a lot of people don't have 4K monitors. It's just not quite there yet. So I'm gonna export in 1080p as long as I can. It wasn't until I went back and watched a few of my videos I shot last month that I really saw the difference. So is the Panasonic GH4 worth it? I think it really is, but I can't really vouch for it yet because I'm still a novice with it. I'm still an amateur with it. But as you see in car review / vlog form, it's doing just fine. The hardest part about the GH4 is the skin tone. And that is, you know, getting your aperture right, getting the shutter speed right, getting your ISO right. Everything else though, environments, grass, trees, colors, that's all very easy to get right. As you see here, I shot at Evolve Tuning for a little bit and got some shots of the cars inside for practice. and they came out great, especially when I stretched the color out after exposing that flat image, if that makes sense. It's all gonna be in time, it's all gonna be practice, but eventually down the road, I think it's gonna be a good investment. So guys, thanks so much for watching this quick little rundown of my Panasonic GH4. I appreciate you watching. And what do you guys think of the new camera? Do you think the new image quality is better than the T3i? Let me know what you guys think below. Thanks so much and have a fantastic day.